Did you know 90% of US companies are reshoring? It's the ultimate power move. Made in America. Rising tariffs and supply chain drama are driving this change. From Mexico to India, friendshoring is real. But the hard pivot back to US soil is even more significant. Sure, costs might jump, but the long-term payoff is clear. Watch the full video to see this economic revival in motion.
Gary, let's move to thing number 2. We're talking about the reshoring of production. A survey recently came out that gave us an idea of what amount that's going to look like in terms of that shift. You're saying, Gary, that it was a lot better than you had anticipated. Thing number 2, Gary, U.S. companies accelerate reshoring plans. Let's get right into it.
So, Rob, this one surprised me. There's a recent Alliance Trade survey that found that 90% of U.S. companies now plan to reshore or shift to domestic suppliers in response to President Trump's April global tariff announcement, citing greater supply chain control and greater trade policy uncertainty. Now, look, it's going to take some time for that many companies to adjust supply lines. This is not the kind of thing that happens overnight. And for now, a lot of them are turning to friendshoring, redirecting production out of China and toward lower cost, more friendly partners like Mexico, Vietnam, India, and Thailand. And persistent labor shortages, supplier constraints, cost pressures continue to complicate onshoring efforts. Over half of surveyed firms are planning price hikes to offset tariff-related expenses. But the big news here is 90% are saying we're getting with the program. That is absolutely unbelievable. I would have figured that number would be more in the like 45 to 55% range.
Wow.
So it was incredible to see.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's obviously a big disparity there, Gary. And I think obviously the line of thinking, right, is okay, if these tariffs are going to lead to higher prices for these goods, for these services, for basically everything. I mean, why are we finding such a large percentage of that group? 90%, with you saying it, expecting it to be in the 45 to 50%, that's huge delta there. Why are so many people in favor of them?
So, Rob, I think there are a couple of things. First of all, the fiat economists keep insisting that tariffs are going to lead to massive inflation. Maybe, but there are historical examples that demonstrate otherwise, including during President Trump's first term. And, on previous editions of the 5 Things, I've commented that Anthony Pompliano did great research on this and went back, found a whole bunch of historical examples where, tariffs went in place, but you had an increase in domestic supply that offset that demand and prices didn't go up. And the truth is, despite all of this hysteria, last Friday we got the PCE data, right? The consumer expense data. And that is the Fed's preferred inflation measure. That actually showed continued disinflation. Now, does that mean there's no inflation? No, but it means that at the same time that all these fiat economists are saying inflation's going to go up, it's going to go up, it actually came down, right? Disinflation, not deflation. Beyond that, Rob, it's really interesting the public support for this, because we've mentioned before that the U.S. has been selling off its manufacturing capacity and manufacturing sectors for more than 40 years. That's not a sustainable trend. And I think people are starting to understand that. And so there was a recent Epoch Times poll that indicated a majority of the readers believe that tariffs are I'm going to quote them here from the Epoch Times, a fair and necessary step to protect U.S. industry, bring back manufacturing jobs, and chart a path toward long-term economic independence. And what's really interesting about that is here was a majority of readers saying, okay, look, even if it results in higher prices, this is something we need to do. And decoupling from China is in our best interest and is in our national security. And, we talked about this just a week or two ago, where China was putting basically remote kill switches in the power equipment they were selling us with the solar panels, where they could damage or shut off our grid. Being in business with people like that is a risk. Yeah, does anyone want to pay higher prices? No. but it's a risk to do business with people who are actively trying to hurt you. Now, look, I'm going to acknowledge something. The Epoch Times readership leans to the right. They lean to the right, just like the New York Times or Washington Post readership leans to the left. That's okay. But these respondents indicated they were still in favor of tariffs, even if it meant higher short-term inflation. Is it a representative sample of the country? No, but still, it's a large group of people saying we'll pay higher prices to decouple from China and have our manufacturing jobs back. So I think companies are responding to that and realizing that Americans will suffer a certain amount of pain if they believe it's for a good reason.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, great stuff to take out of that point. And thing number 2 there, Gary. Thank you so much for watching the 5 things with Deep Knowledge Investing. Be sure to head to our website, deepknowledgeinvesting.com, where you can sign up for a free subscription. All we'll need is your email address. Some of the content that you'll be delivered will be paywalled, so would love if you would consider a premium subscription on the site, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you won't miss any future 5 Things episodes.